Coming to you from the city of the weird. Exploring topics from the esoteric and unexplored to dimensions unknown. Shining a light of truth on the darkest corners of our reality. Welcome to the Curious Realm. How you doing tonight? Chris Jordan here, coming at you from Austin, Texas. We are getting ready for a slew of pre-record shows, everybody. I cannot tell you, I am getting ready for 21 straight days in Las Vegas. One of my favorite cities in the country, but boy, howdy. That is a lot of Las Vegas. Our guests tonight in the first segment are the amazing authors of Chasing Ghost Texas Style, the Klinge brothers. We will be talking to them about not only their career in paranormal investigations here in Texas, around the country, and further, especially with their previous show that they had, but also talking about the amazing event that they are putting on, Texas Paracon, Lonestar Paracon, rather. Lonestar Paracon is coming up at the end of the month. That will be coming up here shortly. All kinds of amazing guests, all kinds of amazing speakers going on there, all kinds of money going to charity. The last event these guys put together was fantastic. So we will be talking with them in the beginning of the show about paranormal investigations and the upcoming conference. And in the second part of the show, we will be joined by our good friend Chester Moore. We will be talking about specifically wildlife conservation, and the article that spawned my call to him was about a black panther that was recently seen. Texas man's photo of black panther creates buzz, and that just rang into my head like I had a big cat encounter in eastern Louisiana, and it was one of the things that sent me down a rabbit hole of cryptozoology in my life that led to my discovery of things like jaguarundi and stuff like that. So we will be talking about that, all kinds of things with Chester Moore, and how important wildlife conservation is in general, but also how important wildlife conservation is to things like cryptozoology, folks. Believe it or not, that is one of the most important things that we can do, is make sure that if these critters are there, that the habitat that they do inhabit is taken care of. So we'll be talking with him about that. Once again, our guest in the first segment are Brad and Barry Klinge. They are the authors of Chasing Ghost Texas Style, and they are the hosts of the 2024, my first live show of 2024, Lonestar Paracon. Welcome back to the show, guys. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you doing? Thanks for having us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's always great talking with you guys. It's always great seeing you on site. I cannot wait for this conference. It's going to be super fun. Let's get into, before we get into the conference and things to expect there, how did you first get into the world of paranormal research? I guess let's start off with Barry. Barry, what first got you interested in the world of the paranormal?
Well, my story's kind of boring, actually, probably compared to Brad's. But, when we were little, both of us used to check out the books at the elementary school library about ghosts and crypto things and monsters. And it was just an interest I had growing up, and had a few experiences growing up. My grandmother passing away, had some experiences in my house. We actually had some cryptid stories that Brad and I have experienced together as we were little kids. That's really my experience, really. And then I really did dive really into this whole investigations and as we know, this is the paranormal world as we know it now until what, Brad,
2007.
But it's from
2006.
from a video
2006. Yeah.
2006-ish. But before that, I was in the Navy. It's down in Miami, Florida. I was stationed down there, and Brad went on a trip with my parents the summer before his senior year in high school. And he caught something on video that when he showed me, it was like, just, wow, this stuff's pretty cool. But it wasn't until, like you said, that was in 1991? 1990.
1990, actually.
1990. So fast forward all the way to 2006. It's a large gap in there. I wasn't really doing anything with ghosts, but that video is the kind of the one that got like, oh, just got to scratch your head. One of the stuff that's really good.
I mean, he wasn't doing anything with it, but I was. I mean, it was in Gettysburg, and I caught this group of Union soldiers just cruising across the field with an old VHS camera, middle of the day, and it's not like a figment of your imagination. Literally, it's in the viewfinder.
Wow.
And then it's not there. And, and it was my personal proof of the paranormal. And it was funny because like Barry said, we were kind of on our way down this whirlwind, cross-country trip. Went all the way down to Miami to see him. I showed him and one of my good friends. Those are the only two people that ever saw it for probably 20 years until Discovery Channel came along when we were, on our team Everyday Paranormal doing the investigations. And they asked the same question you did, what got you started? And I showed them the video. And this video has now since, become viral. It's basically what, it's our start. But, I never showed anybody just because it was so real that no one would believe it. And it's like, I don't want to have to deal with people not believing it and explaining myself. And I have nothing to explain. I know what it is. You know what I mean? It's one of those deals. But, that video has come to what we kind of are known for, where we got our start, our scientific research, everything that we've done that you saw on the Discovery Channel on our show Ghost Lab. And that rolled into our book that we wrote, and we're writing a couple of others right now. And, we tour, we go around the world, speaking about this stuff. And it's funny, that one little moment on the battlefield in Gettysburg is, here I am 50 years old, Barry 54.
Yeah.
And we're still researching and talking about it. So.
Well, and really just proof to the case, that when something like that happens to you, the term that I have been introduced to that I love is ontological shock. The fact that everything that you know to be true changes. And like you said, you don't believe what you have in that picture. You know what you have in that picture. You know what you saw through that viewfinder.
It's not a matter of belief for me. It's a matter of, okay, this stuff exists, hands down. And I don't care what you believe or don't believe. I know the truth, so that's good enough for me.
Well, and that's just it. It's interesting that, to say that you believe in something belies faith. To say that means you have experienced. There's a difference there. And
right.
That experience is a life-changing one when it happens. It can be world-shaking. And once again, even the fact of you sitting on that video for years, Brad, that's one of the examples that I give regularly, is that many times people do not come forward with their experience for years because of fear of ridicule.
Right. And it wasn't so much fear of ridicule. It was almost like, it's not up for debate. I mean, and I'll give you what happened and the facts and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not going to debate anybody on whether it's real or not, because, the Texas me will take over and I'll just whoop your ass.
Right.
That's how we'll settle it. But just to avoid all that, but it caused me to do a lot of research into why. And that's what Barry and I have been doing all these years. It's like, okay, now that we know this stuff exists, and we've had experience, since then we've had some of those, wow moments. but it's why does it exist? How does it exist? Is it predictable? Does it happen in certain areas and certain times? And
Yeah.
are these conditions right? So it's become kind of a scientific thing where, based on a lot of the research that we've done over the years, we've come to find that it does have, patterns and habits and, can be, predictable and traceable in a lot of times. And there's not only one reason for it to happen. There's multiple reasons for it to happen. And so that's kind of the things that we do.
Well, and getting into that is one of the concepts that I have explored regularly with guests recently is the idea of, especially when you're going out on investigation. Not so much cryptid hunting, things like that, but when you're going out hunting the paranormal, when you are going out looking for those specific things, could it even be the fact that your preparation alone, your excited preparation, Brad, is actively charging that environment?
Well, it is all about energy, and we can go into that whole thing. And energy takes different forms.
Well,
the physical energy, the emotional energy. It has to have energy to be able to manifest. It's part of our things we theorize with. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I mean it's one of those that as I've spoken at conferences recently, I have caveated people to enjoy your time in the field, go out, have fun, but make sure that as you're prepping your gear, you're doing nothing more than a checklist of gear. Just a blank slate checklist. Try to keep yourself as emotionally inert as possible. Don't try to hype up the location in your head as haunted, or expecting experience. Because
watch pot never boils, and that's something that we've always a lot of times it's funny because when we were filming a TV show, they would have the cameras on us, and with cameras they want you to kind of be active and moving around. Barry and I would find a comfortable spot to sit down and just watch and listen and talk about the weather and what we're going to eat that night and just take our minds off it, and that's it.
But that makes boring TV, so we had to get up and walk around and do our thing.
And most definitely, I can imagine the okay, before we sit down for all that, let's shoot an hour of B-roll of you guys going around with meters and asking questions and things like that. And then we'll record that and see what happens and use that and marry the two. I can utterly see that. And yeah, that can become problematic when you are investigator the way you guys have been for years. I mean, that's what brought y'all to the point of Ghost Lab and to the radar of those producers to begin with, was your actual field work and going out and doing investigation. Now, when you're out in the field, when you're looking at these things, let's start getting into that, because once again, there is an energetic give off of those who are involved, and that can either help or hurt sometimes. So let's start getting into that and how you go about measuring such things in the field, guys.
Well, with the Ghost Lab, we were spoiled. We had all these state-of-the-art pieces of equipment and computers, software, and gadgets, and people that were inventing things at the time were sending us prototypes and whatnot. But, nowadays we keep it simple. We really, our first thing we do, you saw it on TV, we go and we go what's called a scout. We just walk around and just kind of get a feeling for the place. We don't really investigate, air quoting right now. We kind of just walk around just to see, what's up. We get a vibe over here or something leading me to go somewhere else. That's our first thing we do. And then, of course, we get out our gadgets. And when I say gadgets, I'm not talking about ghost hunting equipment. I'm calling just traditional, scientific equipment, EMF meters, thermometers, audio recorders, things like
data
that.
Loggers.
Data loggers. We tend to stay away from things that are made for the ghost hunting business. The SLS cams and the Ovuluses and things like that. Not to say they don't work, but it's just that's not our cup of tea. We want to keep it to traditional pieces of equipment and something that hasn't been made to find ghosts, if that makes any sense. So it keeps our investigation sterile. It keeps it true. It doesn't go one way or another just because this piece of equipment, however it's made, I don't know how it's made. Is it giving off false positives? Is it a toy that's supposed to make me feel there's a ghost there? Things like that. We don't trust that stuff. So we go with our gut instinct and our traditional piece of equipment.
Yeah, the tradition, like you said, it measures environmental factors. That's the key. It's standard environmental factors because that's what we want to monitor. We want to monitor the fluctuation in those things. When the experiences or the things that we can happen to capture on recording, video or audio or whatever happen, if we can correlate those things with common environmental factors at the time, then that helps us, in the predictability thing that I was talking about earlier. And, we've done that. And with the advent of data logging, we did it 15 years ago. And I really still don't see it today. And I'm shocked because when you go into a place, you want to log that environmental data as it happens. Every second you want to log a reading. And that way you can look at the entire picture over time. And if something happens in a millisecond, you could look at that millisecond on the timestamps on those other things to see what else is happening. It's all about the correlation of data. And and I really think that a lot of people who are ghost hunting, they're out for the Friday night thrill. They're out for the experience of being in a quote unquote haunted house, or the chance to hear a moan or a chain rattle, or the Scooby-Doo factor of a haunting, when we're out there just monitoring locations and seeing what kind of data we could pull and correlate. So it's if people go with us, sometimes they can get bored.
Well, and that's like, what just it. Yeah. No. I mean, and people have a big misconception with this thing. And that is a lot of what I love doing with this show, guys, is demystifying these things. Because, I love the shows. Do not get me wrong. I love, good God, I just had Robert Clotworthy, the voice of Ancient Aliens and Oak Island, do a on-air drop for Curious Realm, like that's how much I love those shows. But you have to understand that a certain amount of that is produced, that it is produced television, and it's one of those, I see people in groups who are like, oh, they're never going to find that gold. And it's like, I'm pretty sure the gold is the science that they've found, despite any evidence, despite finding the Ark of the Covenant at the bottom of a hole, anything like that, there has been a ton of science found along the way. And that's just it. That's one of the things that I love about you guys, is that you don't want to use the teddy bear with light up eyes and a microphone. You don't want to use the toys that wiggle around whenever they're in the presence of something, because you don't know what that's necessary. Even as an audio engineer and former broadcast engineer, the idea of the spirit box randomly scanning through, I don't know, like you could be picking up all kinds of things when scanning through sidebands. You're talking ham radio signals, parts of security broadcasts, things like that you could be picking up random bits and pieces from. Now, sure, the hypothesis is that the ghost is riding those radio waves as well. But a lot of that comes from the old school research done in the 20s and 30s in the day of the Black Orchid tapes, with original EVP work, where the hypothesis was that the ghost, through paranormal electromagnetic energies, can manipulate the weak magnetic field of that tape head and influence the tape. I don't know how the ghost influences ones and zeros of a digital recorder.
Well,
like
it's not the ones and
scientifically.
zeros of a digital recorder. It's what we found. It's the frequencies that they
Okay.
lie in, because those digital recorders actually will take lower frequencies that
Oh,
you
sure.
can't really hear,
Yeah.
and it'll amplify them. So that's why, you know, a lot of times we'll do that. We'll look at when we hear a voice on a recording that we don't know what it was. We look at the first thing we look at is where's the frequency. If it's lying in that lower threshold, that, you know, below threshold of hearing,
Yeah.
we're like, okay, that has some validity to it, and it is about that. And what we do feel is that, yeah, you know, static, white noise, the ghost box that scans the AM station. The concept is great. You know, I really feel that it's there. However, when you know that there are known voices on an AM radio frequency from radio stations, and it's just panning, your ear is eventually going to hear the sound like of a name. Like a lot of times people, their question they like to ask is, "What's your name?" Right?
Yeah.
How many times is someone's name mentioned on an AM or radio frequency? All the time. And the chances are likely that you're going to time it just right, where you ask a name and the name John comes across from, you know, KT 103 in Shreveport, Louisiana,
Well,
that you don't realize.
And once again, you may be especially with AM, because I used to play with that a long time ago, trying to catch things, just going through white noise. And man, especially if you have like an older AM receiver on stormy nights like we have right now in Central Texas. I lived in Houston at the time. I used to be able to pick up AM radio from Dallas when the weather was right, just because of the way that the radio waves bounced off the ionosphere during a storm, you know? So even though you may be on something that is utterly static most of the time, there may be something ionospherically or elsewhere that is bouncing other radio signals to that area and across that band that you were fully not aware of. You know, I mean, I work in the corporate AV field, as you guys know. One of the big jobs that we have as a position on very large shows, like the ones I'm getting ready to go work in Vegas, where we've got 3 floors of the Venetian with 8 microphones in each room, you know, like we're going to have like a microphone count of about 250. That's just our microphones at the hotel property. That's not the other shows. That's not in-house microphones. That's not radios on security people or with in-house, you know, operations. So we have one person called the frequency coordinator, Freak Man. He goes and he gets freaky with it. And his job is to walk around with an actual frequency meter and find the open bands of air in which to program our microphones so that they do not get interference. Like, that's somebody's job. Most people don't take that into consideration when just using, once again, an off-the-shelf ghost box. Great in concept. I am not a huge proponent of their field use because, as you're saying, Brad, it is not a quantifiable. I even here recently was at a live show, and one of the vendors was selling toroidal speakers, you know, like muted speakers that are toroids that put frequency out to help fields, things like that, help you reorganize DNA strands, stuff like that. And for me, it was the fact of what frequency ranges. Show me, like, you've got a little wand there that's showing me that that's dirty RF and that's clean RF. Show me the frequency ranges of the RF that you're showing me. You know, because if you put one winding out of line over here, like, it'll look noisy. Like, that's just me as a circuit designer. So it was hard for me to see somebody selling a device dealing with frequencies and healing and what frequencies you need to avoid when they could not tell me the frequency range of operation of the device that they were selling.
Right.
That's a hard sell for me.
Go ahead, Bear.
I was going to say, you know, and this is nothing against people that make equipment.
No.
I think people that make equipment are really trying to like, break the mold and develop something new. But a lot of the time you see the things being developed, they're not because of the ghost part. They're like what the ghost hunter wants. What's going to sell? How am I going to sell a bunch of these gadgets just because that's what the ghost hunter wants? Not necessarily I figured out how to contact ghosts. Unfortunately, it goes the other way. Now, like I said, nothing against people that make ghost hunting equipment and whatnot, but I just think that
use it
from back when 15 years ago till now, things are completely different than what they were back then.
110 degrees different, dude. Like, I remember when I was out in the field doing things years and years ago, like back in 98, 99. Man, one of the best things you could find was an EMF meter that just had the lights, Now you can actively go out and find EMF meters with actual instructions and metered signals and ranges, not just a color light that says, oh, it's red. Great. Am I near a microwave half a block away? It doesn't help you just to see a red light. What helps you is to see the frequency of the RF radiation. And nowadays, whereas that handheld RF meter with just the lights used to be $100-something, now you can go out and buy an actual EMF meter with actual meter readings and Gauss limits and things like that on it, and measuring things in milligauss, and instructions that tell you what that milligauss reading means and what a background milligauss should be, because a green light, a red light is great, but if you don't know what a milligauss is and what you're measuring, it could be anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's and once again, I have no fault with anybody that's selling a product. I am American, unless it's true snake oil. I got no problems with it in my true mind. But when it comes to investigation, when it comes to trying to get that quote proof, guys, my air quotes are up there for the listeners. For me, it's the fact of proof is what your lawyer has to keep you out of prison. Would you trust the evidence you have to keep you out of prison? That's the realm of proof that you should be looking for, which means, like you're saying, Brad, we need some numbers. We need quantifiables at that point.
We also employed the use of. You mentioned that you were, an audio engineer at some point in time, or still are.
I still am.
Well, we would get like, for example, an EVP, something that we could not explain. We put it through the ringer. We couldn't explain it. We would send it to an audio engineer, and not even tell them it was paranormal. We would just say, "Can you analyze this piece of audio and give us your impressions?" That's all we would say. Can you tell us what it says? Can you give me a paragraph about the qualities of this piece of audio? We got something in Granbury, Texas one time. We were after there was a legend that John Wilkes Booth was there was conspiracy that he made it out of Virginia, wasn't killed, made it all the way down to Granbury, Texas, and worked at an opera house as a Shakespearean, theater coach. And, he this is a whole long story. We did a whole episode on it. But anyway, the rumor is that his ghost haunts this place. And we got a voice, and I kid you not, that says, "Yes, I'm John Wilkes Booth."
Whoa!
And it had these electronic quality. It was very odd. Everybody who listened to it heard the same thing. So we sent it to an audio expert, an engineer.
He was
didn't tell him what it was
forensics expert.
Right. He would go to court cases and testify on drug wiretaps and all that kind of stuff. And he said, "Well, I thought it said, 'Yes, I'm George Bush,' which." yes, I'm John Wilkes Booth is pretty close
That's
for
pretty
not
close.
knowing what it was.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. Well,
And then he's like, it has very odd qualities. Like there's human tonality to it, but it's not registering where it should be. He was going off on we're like, well, what would you say if I told you?
yeah.
That might not be a human voice.
And that's beautiful that is the way that you approached it, Brad, because so frequently, whenever I see things, whether they're shared in groups, whether even whenever they're shared in private messages with people, there's a front loading that happens there, and it can be hard. It can be hard for you to not want to front load what you think you heard. But the idea of especially giving it to a forensic audio specialist blind, nothing at all, just, hey, man, we got this piece of audio. We would like you to examine it. Tell us about the qualities of the audio. Tell us about the spectral analysis. You know, is everything within spec and norm? And yeah, he would absolutely be able to come back and say, you know, there are things in the subharmonic range here. And it seems like there's a really strange recording in there about George Bush. So that's awesome. That's awesome. That is how you guys properly treat your evidence. And as you were chatting, I got up. Let me see if I can show that on camera here. I got my RF Explorer. This is one of the many tools that we use. That it's hard to see the screen there actually. But yeah, this right here is one of the actual RF machines that will read all incoming signals from, you know, 200-300 megahertz all the way to 6G. So if you're getting any kind of strange things that are really, really beyond the realm of human hearing or radio interference, this will tell you what it is and exactly what frequency it's on. With that, you could tune a radio, tune a receiver, what have you, and actively hear it. But it's interesting to see that, you know, there are people out there like you guys who take it this seriously to the point of taking it beyond your own self. I've tried to for years explain the fact that at a certain point you have to disconnect yourself from and be willing to disconnect yourself from the research. Be willing to turn your evidence over to somebody else, like you did, sight unseen, and story untold, to see if that same finding is found. You know, that's kind of the whole point of science, is the repeatable process. And you guys were saying earlier that that there are some repeatable processes with some of this. You know, like you said, a watch pot doesn't boil, but at the same token, an overactive location hustling and bustling with 8 camera dudes and everything else is prone to scare things off as well. You know, so what are some of those things that if people are serious with their research, if they are looking to go out and properly start gathering data and sharing data amongst groups, because that's really what it comes down to, is the sharing of the data. It's great if you collect it, but if you just collect and hoard data, it does nothing to increase the data set that's out there in the field. So what are some of the methods that people can use that are tried and true to gather good data, and where can they take that once they have it?
Well, I mean, you can. We start out with simple things, like I said. A data recorder is probably the first thing you would buy in order to collect data. EMF, they have temperature, barometric pressure, humidity, all these different measures. They have a data recorder for it. An audio recorder, and all these things need to be time stamped to show at what particular time. But Brad's developed software that we use that shows on a graph of all these. Say we have 7 pieces of equipment out. They're all synced at the same time, and they're running. So on the software we developed, or Brad developed, It'll show you what each piece of equipment is doing at that particular time. And so you have to have some sort of equipment that collects the data. I'm trying to get what I'm trying to say here. Just, like Brad said, data loggers are not used ever. We used those back 15 years ago, and people are just so into the audio recorder out, play or record. All right, stop it. Let's listen to it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I heard something.
And it drives me crazy when they put their ear to an audio recorder. They just put their ear to it after they recorded it 5 minutes ago and oh, did you hear that? Rewind it. It's like, you didn't hear anything.
Well, and not only that, you could not get a more loaded listening environment. Like, even whenever I ran sound for bands, guys, and they walked off with a CD or a DVD as they walked off stage of their performance, my last words to them always were, do not watch this when you get home tonight. When you get to the rehearsal space and drop off your gear, don't throw this into the DVD player with a beer. Give it 2 or 3 days. Come back at your performance with fresh ears. Come back at it with fresh eyes. Otherwise, you're going to pick yourself apart. A football coach doesn't watch the game the next day. He may still be pissed at his players. And be looking at it with the total wrong eyes. So, yeah, you want to give your chance, you want to give your mind a chance, you want to give your body a chance, you want to give your ears a chance to cool down from all of that, so that when you do come back and listen to it, that you're coming at it as a blank slate as possible, I
think the other problem that we've seen, I hate to be on negative Nelly, but one of the issues we see is most what we're talking about now with data and this and frequencies and all this technical stuff, most people are not into that. As we found over the years, from 15 years ago until now, of lectures and books and symposiums, all these things we've done, a lot of times it falls on deaf ears. A very small percentage of the paranormal community is into that, and they're really, we're finding as we go along, most people just want to hear and see a ghost, and they're good.
Yeah.
I hate to say, they don't care about the ones and the zeros. We are. I mean, it's something that we're interested in, but to relay that to other people is sometimes very difficult because they don't give a crap about that. They want to know something else. What was the story behind it? What was the creepy? How creeped out were you? The creep factor, I guess. Yeah. They want that instead of the scientific approach.
And I'll give you an illustration of that. We were on a Japanese television show. A Japanese television show came to the United States, came to Texas, sought us out, wanted us to be on their show, wanted us to take them to a haunted location. Okay, they didn't speak a lick of English. They had a translator. And there's a little girl that she looked like a Hello Kitty, dressed the Hello Kitty type stuff, pink, furry, whatever, very popular in Japan. Anyway, we were explaining kind of what we're explaining, ghosts do this and blah, 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 and haunted locations. And then she just looked at us in a blank stare, and she rattled something off in Japanese to the translator, and the translator said, she wants to know when we're going to see the ghosts. And that's all she cared about was, when are we going to see the ghosts? When are we going to see the ghosts? Yeah. Funny story, though. Things happened that night where a thermal image came out. The whole building shook. All the motion sensors went off in a sequence down a hallway for no reason, and they freaked out. But that was luck. The thing is, if you come into a location, all you're doing is, when am I going to see the ghost? When am I going to see the ghost? You're probably never going to see it, or you're going to relate every bump and scratch that happens that night to a ghost.
Exactly.
And that's not good either.
Exactly. At that point, it's audio and it's audio and visual pareidolia. You're willing to see every shadow as a being at that point. And your want of confirmation or even want of experience has taken over and overshadowed the logic. I have had my experiences, guys. As we said in the beginning of the show, I'm a believer because of my experiences, and I guess I not really believer, but I know because of my experiences, to bring it back to our earlier conversation. And I doubt nobody's experiences with the other side. $1 million prize. Like, it's out there.
Because they know that'll never happen. That's the whole thing, because something can always be disproved, or it could be, there could always be a shadow of a doubt on anything in the paranormal.
Yeah.
There can always be. It boils down to your experience, how you saw it, what you know in your heart and your brain happened. And that's why they offer those things, because they know they'll never give away $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, granted, there are numerous things out there right now, especially whenever you're talking about data logging, things like that. To give people an example, one example of that is Madar. I have a Madar system here at the house. Madar is basically like a small, it picks up magnetic anomalies in the magnetosphere, things like that. So basically the concept of operation is by building a mass node of these things. Each little one is like a Raspberry Pi that you plug into the internet. It calls up to the server and says, "Hi, I'm a receiving node. I'm going to give you magnetospheric readings for the area." And it will basically report a disturbance in the magnetosphere to the home system. So whenever a meteorite comes through, anything like that, it records the location, the intensity of the magnetospheric anomaly, change in the magnetosphere, the speed of the anomaly, everything else, and reports it home. And then they can put it against, hey, was there a meteor shower going on? Were there any shooting stars? All that kind of stuff. But that is a passive data gathering system that is built off of a Raspberry Pi system. Nothing extraordinarily complex, nothing extraordinarily, expensive. And when you're talking about leveraging technology like Raspberry Pis, yeah, man, you can get temperature sensors, movement sensors, infrared sensors, thermal sensors, all kinds of data that you could hook into a Raspberry Pi and just passively off of a, battery pack that's charged up, gather tons of data on site.
Yeah. We were talking about actually some Raspberry Pi technology several years ago, and we formed a group. It was very temporary. We had, and what it was a group of people like us who like data. And I have a friend of mine who's he's a data scientist. He knows how to put the models together and all that kind of stuff. And we were going to gather data upon data upon data upon data and just build these models. The problem is we all have regular jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
To do this, I would have to be funded by some organization, and this is my job, and that's all I did.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the only time that Barry and I were professional ghost hunters were the 2 seasons we were on Discovery Channel. Other than that, we have day jobs. So that's the other problem with doing this properly.
Well, and that brings up something that I don't think a lot of people are aware of, guys. And that is, a lot of people in all of these fields have day jobs. This is not like a multi-million-dollar a year job. Let's just say that. Nobody's dumping commas and zeros at people to be paranormal investigators. Even though you have had a show and literally a seminal show in genre. Ghost Lab was one of the first shows in that genre to ever hit air.
Yep.
And begat the entire tidal wave of these things. But even then, it's not like you're, raking in six zeros a month off residuals. No. There's a big misconception
we basically had to beg. We had to negotiate just to make our salaries that we were leaving to do the show.
Yeah.
That shows you how we're not getting rich.
Well, yeah, precisely. And that should be, I think that is something that honestly has to be laid bare with conversation. I appreciate guys like you who are as honest about it as you are. You know, people do not realize that many of their favorite cryptozoologists, you know, like work at the petting zoo at the local zoo, that they work retail outlets during the holidays, that kind of stuff. Like, this is what they do to follow their passion. Like, I do not, this is what you're looking at, everybody, here with me. Like, this is my home studio. Like, this is where I sit and run my home business. I am not making commas and zeros off Curious Realm and sponsorships. You know, I do this because I am passionate about it, and because I am passionate about these topics and about getting work like what you guys do out there in front of people. Because without these conversations, we're going to go nowhere. You know, without conversations like what will be had at the upcoming conference, at the upcoming Lonestar Paracon, be it with the speakers or be it amongst the experiencers who are there, not only experiencing the conference, but sharing their experiences with each other. You know, that's what this is about, is being able to give people a safe place to come and experience not only the community of experiencers, but to know that there are safe places and safe people to share their experience with.
Yeah, we're actually making commas and zeros. Problem is, there's nothing in front of the zeros, so we're making a bunch of zeros right now.
Making that Gus Gorman Superman 3 money, the fractions of pennies. That's it.
Yep.
Before we let you go, we've got about 3 or 4 minutes, or about 5 or 6 minutes left with you guys. Let's get into the conference real quick, because you guys are hugely charity motivated. That is one of the reasons why I support your shows, why I come out and help AV sponsor things like that, is because I love what you guys are doing with not only getting these topics out in front of more community, but also using that to help other communities and to help out different charities. So let's talk about Lonestar Paracon real quick and some of the fun activities that are going to be there, and a little bit about the charity that all of this is going to help go benefit.
Yeah, so Lonestar Paracon, it's kind of been a thing of Brad and I've been thinking about for over several years. And we did one before, not Lonestar Paracon, but a bigger event years and years ago. It's pretty successful. But Brad and I are always going to events in the Northeast, the Midwest, and all over the country. There's nothing ever in Texas. Nothing. We do little events here, little events there, but big Paracons, they're just not existent. So we live here in Church, Texas, just north of San Antonio. We have a really nice convention center. And we're like, hey, man, let's try to do something here. Let's just put all of our eggs in one basket and see what comes out in the end. And if you know us personally, friends of ours, even people that make our events, we don't do this to make money. We literally do it because we enjoy putting on events. We enjoy being around our fans and our friends and our family. And any money we make either goes to a charity or it goes right back into another event. And so that's kind of where we're at, the reason why we put it on. Lonestar Paracon is, man, we've been doing this. When did we announce this, Brad? About a year ago?
About a year ago, almost, yeah.
Almost a year ago.
Yeah.
This thing has exploded. I mean, it's really gone from just an idea to we've already sold out. The VIP sold out in like a month.
Awesome.
The investigation with Shane Little and Aaron Sager sold out in like a month. The vendor spots just sold out last week.
Great.
We have other tickets that are starting to get close to selling out. Speaker tickets, gallery reading tickets, Solstice Sister Sunday tickets. And as we get closer, we knew Christmas was kind of like a slow time. But I'll tell you what, since yesterday, January 1, it's starting to go. We're also starting a huge advertising campaign to get the local people to the event, because here's the kicker, guys. It's free.
Yeah.
It is completely free to come to the vendor portion of the event. meet the vendors, meet the celebrities, get your autographs, get your pictures. That's all completely free. The only thing you have to buy if you want to listen to the speakers is a measly $40 ticket. That gets you all day. I think there's eight speaker slots all day long for $40. That's it.
Wow.
So we go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just saying, wow, that's incredible. Number one, the fact that it's free for all. Come to the event, come check it out, come swap stories with people. Only thing that costs money is walking into the speaker room. That's incredible because you still get to meet speakers and things like that at their tables and buy books from them, share stories with them, get things signed, all that kind of stuff. So it's fantastic.
And that's what we're at right now. Is we're out just to get people there. I mean, I hate to say we couldn't care less if you've got a speaker pass or not, but we want you to at least go there. Bring your family. You have a family of 6. Guess what? It's all free. Everyone walk in, meet these people, have a good time. Maybe see something, experience things that you haven't before. Talk to people who you only read about or see on TV. It's fun. Hate to say fun for the whole family. It's so cliche, but it is. But with that and all the peripheral events and everything going on around it, there's a couple of things that other people are going to benefit, and that's a little closer to Barry. I'll let him explain that a little bit more.
Please do.
So
Barry.
Special Olympics is close to my heart because that's what I do for a living. I am a special education teacher. Been doing it for 15 years. I here with the local school district, actually the school district that Brad and I went to school at. And so what I do is I teach special education, physical education. So I work with kids in their PE classes that have motor difficulties, Down syndrome people, autism kids, traumatic brain injury kids, just the whole gamut. I work with those kids. I also run the Special Olympics program, which we do sports. We do swimming, bowling, basketball, bocce, track. There's other sports that we're actually trying to implement. And so we have ages from 8 years old up to 22-year-olds in our district that participate in the Special Olympics. Well, the bad thing about our Special Olympics program is we have to raise our own money. We're not we're not driven by like an account or a budget through the district. We have to raise money through fundraising. And so Brad and I got together and said, really cool. Let's do every bit of profit. Now there's bills to pay. We got flights and hotels and rentals, and everything is not for free on this event. But we're trying to make it to where it's very affordable. We got sponsors that's helped out financially. We got really good deals from the city. All the guests have waived their appearance fees. I'm going to announce that now. I probably screwed everybody up on their next deal, but they all did that because it's a good cause, and I'm not saying they do that every time, but it's a charity event. But with all that money savings, we're hoping that at the end we're going to have a big profit. All the profit's going to go to our local Special Olympics team through the district, which helps buy uniforms, buy his new equipment. The seniors in high school, or the juniors and seniors in high school, they actually get letter jackets. They can letter the Special Olympics.
Yes, they can.
Our funds they buy those free for the kids through our fundraising. All of that. What's cool also, some of our athletes will actually be there helping with the event, helping out with volunteers, and helping out just all the admin stuff of the event. On top of that, we have a second special education program called 18 Plus, which is when you turn 18 in our district, you can stay till you're 22. And so from 18 to 22, it's a vocational program. They teach you how to get a job.
Awesome.
They teach you how to live alone, how to wash your clothes, all this kind of living,
life
how to be
skills.
An adult, pretty much.
Yeah, life skills.
And life skills. And so those kids, they actually started a T-shirt making business. They actually bought heat presses and everything.
Cool.
They're making our event shirts.
Awesome.
All the event shirts. They're got a booth there. They're making them. They're selling them. Every bit of that money is going straight back to them. That is their fundraiser. They're making 200 shirts. I'm telling you, they're going to be gone in about 2 hours.
That's great.
So you need to get there at 9 a.m. is when this thing kicks off for the public. You better get there at 9 a.m. because those shirts are going to be gone. Plus, our first speaker goes off at 9 a.m. And it goes all the way till 6 o'clock that evening. So there's a lot going on. We have a snack bar there. There's no reason to leave. You show up, you see everything you want to see. You buy the things you want to buy. You have a little snack. You don't have to leave. You stay there all day long and enjoy the Paracon. So that's January 27th. That's a Saturday. There's nothing going on in this area on that Saturday. We've checked. We did our research.
And you guys do a great job of that, honestly. I try to sponsor most of the paranormal events that happen in the state of Texas, and yeah, not everybody really, like does a quick Google search at the beginning of the year to be like, hey, what else is going on? Because yeah, there are quite a few that kind of cross over each other, but you guys make a really concerted effort to make sure that people have time to be able to put this into their schedule. It doesn't cross over any major holidays. It isn't crossing over any other major conferences, things like that. So you put
we really try to check that, because we've had events, other people have done events, and all of a sudden there's a Comic Con in town that weekend, or there's
it's Mother's Day weekend
for the next 2 weeks. Weekend.
Yeah, I'd love to come to their show, but William Shatner's up the road,
Right, exactly.
and at 110%. And that happens a lot, especially when you were talking pop culture, things like that. Those draw huge crowds locally. So good on you guys for putting all of this together. Once again, Lonestar Paracon, I cannot wait to come be a part of it. I cannot wait to come out, get all the amazing live coverage, live interviews. Guys, thank you so much to the Klinge brothers for not only putting together this amazing event, but so many others that go to benefit fantastic charities out there. Word charities just left my head.
Yeah, LoneStarParacon.com, EverydayParanormal.com, or KlingBros.com. All three of those get you you can read about it, you can buy tickets there, or just, see who's going to be there and what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it. I'm going to let y'all go. And I'll be in touch soon about all the upcoming preparation for the show. I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, guys. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Later.
All right.
Yeah,
bye-bye. Always great talking with the Klinge brothers, two Texas boys from right up the road in San Antonio. I cannot wait to go to that event. It's gonna be fantastic. Lonestar Paracon is coming right up at the end of January, folks. That will be officially, technically, our last pre-record. My air quotes were up there. Our last pre-record of things. I'll be coming back the week after that. I'll of course be live to introduce all of the coverage from Lonestar Paracon, but Lonestar Paracon coverage will be coming the last Tuesday, or the first Tuesday of February. Last Tuesday of January. So there you have it. I can't even keep my pre-record schedule straight. It's big and long. So with that, everybody, speaking of pre-record, we do have our pre-record guest. The amazing Chester Moore is coming up after our commercial break. We will be talking about wildlife preservation. We'll be talking about what it takes to take care of wildlife, what it takes to make sure that our wild spaces are there and available even for the cryptids that may exist in them, much like the jaguarundi here in Texas, or even like possibly the large black cats that have been seen in Texas lately. We'll be getting into that with Chester Moore right after this. With the rise in attention to the health benefits of cannabis and cannabinoids, including CBD, True Hemp Science has become one of the premier providers of full-spectrum CBD and CBD-related products. Using a proprietary spagyric process, True Hemp Science extracts maximum benefit from the whole hemp plant. Buds, leaves, stems, seeds, even roots. every part of the plant is used and then reused to formulate a rich, complex profile of CBD, CBD derivatives, and terpenes guaranteed to provide the relief and benefits you need daily. Visit TrueHempScience.com to experience the best CBD oils, edibles, and topicals on the market today. And use code CURIOUS7 to save 7% off your entire purchase of $50 or more and get 2 25 milligram CBD cookies or brownies free. That website again is TrueHempScience.com and the code is CURIOUS7. The Curious Realm Podcast is your source for the latest and greatest news and events in the world of the paranormal, esoteric, and forbidden knowledge. And there's no better way to spark the conversation than with items from the Curious Realm store. Choose from fan favorites like hoodies, mouse pads, coffee mugs, and more. Buy books and items from your favorite Curious Realm guests. Get your hands on the latest gear for paranormal investigations and experiments we discuss on the show. Open your web browser and stop on by the Curious Realm store at curiousrealm.com/store to buy the latest Curious Realm wear and out-of-this-world gifts for yourself, your family, or a mind that you want to open. That website again is curiousrealm.com/store. Have you considered starting a podcast? Looking for a way to make your business a voice of authority in an industry? Then Podcast Cadet is the solution for you. Whether starting a podcast for yourself, your brand, business, school, church, or just plain fun, Podcast Cadet is here to help you navigate the waters of the podcast industry. Specializing in one-on-one consultation and training with industry professionals in fields ranging from podcast technology and editing to distribution, monetization, and even social media strategies. Podcast Cadet tailors their services to the specific needs of you and your podcast. Do you already have a podcast and trying to find ways to engage and grow your audience? Sign up for your Podcast Cadet audit today and let us help you explore new and exciting ways to leverage your content and elevate your podcast brand to whole new levels. From consultational workshops to affordable podcast production and maintenance packages, Podcast Cadet is your one-stop shop for everything podcast related on the internet. Visit podcastcadet.com today to sign up for your consultation or training and use code CURIOUS20 to save 20% off your entire purchase. That website again is podcastcadet.com. Well, hello, everybody, and thank you so much for staying tuned through that commercial break. Thank you so much to our sponsors, True Hemp Science. True Hemp Science is my source for CBD. I have found them many years ago. Christopher Lynch here in Austin creates all of the products for True Hemp Science, and they are some of the best darn CBD products I have found nationwide. I use them every day. Stop on by and check them out. TrueHempScience.com. Curious7 is the code that you want to use to get 7% off your entire cart of $50 or more, as well as two free CBD edibles on your way out the door. Our guest in this segment is the amazing Chester Moore. Chester Moore is Geez, man, what isn't Chester Moore? He is an award-winning editor. He is an award-winning journalist. He is an award-winning podcast host. He has Higher Calling Wildlife, where he actively works with underprivileged kids, also works in the world of conservation. He just won an award as the Bighorn Educator of the Year from the Bighorn Sheep Society of America. So yeah, welcome back to the show, Chester Moore. How you doing, bud?
Man, it's great to be here. Always like chatting with you, Chris. Always interesting conversation. And thanks for the epic intro. I owe you $20 for that, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you staying around through all of the fun rigmarole that we've had getting this episode going. I literally just got a new computer, folks, and things are to say the least, a little bit crazy here and there on a couple of the things, but I appreciate your patience, Chester. And you know what sprung my actual we chat regularly on social media, but what sprung my actual interest today was the fact that you just put an article out about white lions here in America.
White mountain lions.
White mountain lions. Let's get into that a little bit, and your work in conservation. How you came into that, and how you came across this white lion story, Chester.
Well, I'm always have feelers out for anything unusual in nature. It's always been an interest of mine, and my greater cause of nature is to draw people into wanting to conserve habitat, because if we don't have habitat, we're not going to have wildlife. And I found that the enigmas of nature are what really get people hooked, and it gets me hooked. So in 2016, there was a video, a cell phone type video captured of an alleged white cougar. Now, let's stop at that word cougar for a second. That has a couple of connotations, okay? I'm talking about the felid. And also, that cat has more regional names than any cat in the world. It's Felis concolor. I call him a cougar, mountain lion, puma, catamount, painter in the Ozarks, panther in Florida. But I'm going to refer to this as a cougar. And there was this alleged video. We know it was a real video, but of a cat that was pretty large, white, jumping across the creek. And the guy said it was a mountain lion, and it was built like it in the video. Well, I've studied the Black Panther phenomenon for a long, long time. As a matter of fact, I'll be starting an 8-episode series on my YouTube channel on January 1st on that topic. And I thought before I would do that, I would dip a little deeper into the white panther phenomenon. In a couple of years back, there was a photo captured. So people don't realize the cougar lives from way up in Canada all the way down to like Argentina.
Yeah.
Deep parts of South America. They're a very widely distributed cat. And in Brazil, there was a verified white one captured on a game camera. It was not an albino. It was leucistic, which basically means it was white without the eyes being pink. It wasn't. They had pigment.
It wasn't albino.
It wasn't albino. It was white. And there was a verified baby white one born in a zoo in Brazil. Not Brazil, in Greece. So we have this phenomenon. And then I started digging around. There was a white one that was seen and reported a bunch around Red Rocks, the national designated protected land out there close to Las Vegas. So the Black Panther thing's interesting because most people in America, when they hear Black Panther, they're assuming we're talking about black cougar / mountain lion.
Yeah.
But in the history of hunting, zoos, taxidermists, captive populations, there has never been a verified melanistic or black cougar mountain lion.
Yeah.
Never, not once. But we have two for sure, without a doubt, on the white side of things. So I just thought that was really interesting about that. And I thought putting that out there might solicit some more people that have photos and videos and things like that. And just as the nature lover in me, I cannot imagine the feeling of being out in the wilderness. It's cool enough to encounter a mountain lion, but could you imagine encountering a ghostly, beautiful white one? I mean, that would be like the ultimate sighting. So I was pretty excited about putting that blog out. I've already got some good response on that. And there's the report. And it's pretty interesting, man. Like the video clip shows this cat jumping, and this isn't someone's house cat. I mean, I think they had a legitimate, that's a big, watch the jump.
Wow, that is tail. Big.
That's a mountain lion. And that's absolutely, in my mind, a mountain lion.
Oh, absolutely. And you can tell just by the size of the tail in relation to the body.
Yep.
And that distinctive swoop.
Yeah, and if you notice, you can see, I mean, it's not a real clear video, but if you'll notice when it walked, you kind of see the muscles move on those shoulders. And look at that jump.
Look at that pounce.
Yeah, that's not, little curly house cat or whatever. So that was in Texas. And so there's these cool enigmas out there. And
now granted, Texas also a huge community of wildcat collectors, a huge community of large cat collectors. Right out here in the hill country was the guy that got shut down all of a decade ago, I think, that was doing like large cat hunts and stuff like that. If you remember, he was doing all kinds of like exotic game hunts, things like that, and ended up he was like, they had things like jaguars and stuff like that you could go out and hunt.
I've never heard the verified part of people. The only verified one I know was a while back, and it was one guy with a leopard. But what happens is the exotic animal trade is tied in, like the exotic hunting side of it. Some of these ranchers have big cats too. And some of them maybe have done things like cross state lines with animals they shouldn't have, or things like that. But even if there ain't no white ones in captivity in Texas, and that wasn't that's what always happens. Here's my favorite thing, Chris. A circus train crashed. Okay. It's always like Michael Mays told me the other day, he said the least safe place to be in the world is a circus train. Okay.
What?
You haven't heard about the circus trains?
Is it like the 1910s? We have roustabouts coming into town and like parades going down Main Street with elephants. Is that it?
I had a guy I've heard the circus train thing at least a few dozen times.
No way.
Oh yeah. And Michael Mays, who wrote the book about, Black Panthers recently, a friend of mine, he told me the same thing. He hears the circus train thing. And so what happens is, here's how it starts. A circus train crashes and black leopards escape, right? Or in this case, a white mountain lion escapes. Okay. And that's what causes these animals. I'm like, so all around America, these sightings, apparently there's enough circus train crashes to where there are male and melanistic leopards that can somehow link together hundreds of miles apart and hook up and survive in the wild.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know there were that many circus trains still around.
I have seen one.
I can imagine there's a couple.
I have lived across from a train track for 15 years, and I saw Ringling Brothers train go by me. It didn't crash, though. It did not crash. I can verify that.
Which is pretty amazing here in America.
And in Nederland, Colorado, it's about 40 miles from my favorite place on the planet, Estes Park. There's actually an old circus train car there you can look at. I got a video of me sitting in front of it because I wanted to prove they existed, but it didn't say anything about it crashing. So there are a lot of
hypotheses.
And there are a fair amount of exotic cats in Texas, but the numbers are overblown now. It's hard to get that stuff anymore. But that cat on that video, in my mind, is absolutely a mountain lion.
That is a large animal. That is a big animal. I mean, you can see, for reference, in the background, like fence posts and things like that give a good frame of even the post right there gives you a great idea of the size of this animal, knowing the average width of a telephone pole.
Well, I thought it was cool. You had a law enforcement officer there saying he thought that's what it was too. Usually what happens is they'll send some official right there. Well, when I start seeing a wildlife expert on TV, on these news reports, I kind of get nervous. And they'll be like, no, this was actually someone's Great Pyrenees that had recently been shaved. And, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But that was fascinating. And so that cat, as far as I know, and I've asked around to look, has never popped up again.
That is a cat. That is a prowling animal right there. Like you can see it in prowl mode, like crouched down.
Yeah, and stalking. I've been around. A long time ago, the state of Texas had a mountain lion report hotline because the official distribution in Texas, the map they used to have of mountain lions, cougars, had a line at I-35. And apparently they would not cross I-35, okay? Because it was west of I-35, yes, range. East of I-35, none. And so I'm going through the mind of a cougar. And I'm going, if you go east of there, there's more water, there's more forest, there's equal amount of game, but we're going to hang over here because the map shows us west. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And so when you look at a video like that, and you look at this incredible animal, first off, it's a cougar in the eastern third of Texas. It's not supposed to be there.
Austin is in range.
Yeah, technically. Depends on what side of I-35 you're on.
I guess. Right?
Yeah, man. So, the funny thing is, I have a game cam photo, never distributed online, sent to me from Newton County, I live in Orange County. I saw one in Orange County, but years ago, they had a mountain lion report hotline. And I called to give an old report to them. And I said, and they asked me what county. I said, Orange. And the guy on the phone laughed. And I said, let me tell you something, pal. I don't know what you exactly do other than push pencils over there at the office. I was mad. And I said, I guarantee you, I know way more about mountain lions than you. And I said, have you ever had one sitting in your lap? You ever walked one on a leash? Have you ever photographed them for, dozens and dozens? He goes, no. I said, I have done all of the above. And I promise you, I'm more qualified to tell if I saw a freaking mountain lion than you. And guys like, oh. But what happens sometimes, these officials get jaded, but some of them are really nice. But you got some of them that just like, I have a problem with when you report something to officials when they mock people.
Yeah.
Like, not everyone's a wildlife expert.
Yeah.
Sure, it could be a case of mistaken identity, but don't mock people. And that's kind of what got on my nerves. I would love to have walked in the office with a mountain lion on a leash. That would have been epic.
Well, you've got one right there behind you.
I do. This guy's really cool back here.
Working videos.
This guy back here. When I was a kid, I shot my first doe in Llano when I was 12, and I saved up to get her mounted because to me that was like going on an African safari. Yeah. I was so. Yeah. And I took her to this taxidermist from Earl Perkins here in Orange, and he had that cat mounted. And a guy and lived in Orange shot it in Montana. It attacked his dog, and he shot it.
Oh, wow.
And going like 5 years later, I brought like another deer in and it was still there. The guy never picked it up. And so like fast forward 25 years later, I call him and I say, you still got that cat? I said, can we work out some kind of arrangement? Because the kids we work with would love to have like that to see.
Yeah.
There's a very large botanical gardens that has $1 million budget here. Because I'm thinking about donating to them. I said, they could buy a fleet of real mountain lions. Yeah. So like, 2 months later, he was closing shop and he called and said, you want the cat? So I've wanted that mount my entire life, and I've had it for the last 5 years. And the kids come here.
An amazing opportunity to teach the children that you work with.
Yeah, a kid came in. The first thing the kids, when we do our Wild Wishes program at our facility, they'll come here in the office and they'll sit down and we'll introduce ourselves to them. And they're usually the first thing they do is taking selfies with that guy over there, and it's a great opportunity. And I actually, we work with hurting children that have been through trauma, but every once in a while I'll be a sucker and let a scout group come through here. And I had some Girl Scouts when we were at another location, and I walked in, the mom gave that that look like, oh my God, You know, those people always sound like Thurston Howell from Gilligan's Island. You know, that snooty voice.
Right.
You know, those guys.
Yeah.
Oh my God, a mountain lion's dead. And they walk over and I'm doing the presentation and out loud in front of everybody, she goes, I can't believe he killed an endangered species. He's a hypocrite, blah, 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 blah. So I normally with kids there wouldn't have said anything, but she caught me on the right day. And I said, kid, would you mind if just excuse me 1 second? So what did you say? She goes, you killed a mountain lion, and mountain lions are an endangered species. I said, they are not an endangered species. She goes, I guarantee it.
Oh.
I said, lady, look, I normally wouldn't say this, but you caught me on the right day. And if you're going to pick anyone in the state of Texas to debate this issue with, I'm the wrong dude. I said, prove me they're endangered, because I don't know how to do that. So I said, I want you to go to the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. They're the global entity that recognizes what's endangered, threatened, etc.
Yeah.
It's IUCN.org. And I've never looked up the mountain lion status because I don't have to. But you go ahead there and you type in the search engine. And she did. She goes, it says species of least concern. I said, yeah, because there's a bunch of them. Yeah. Anyway, it's education time. And people love these big cats, man. Like the idea of like this stuff roaming around. But man, we're looking at COP28. Yeah, you're looking at a world where we're losing habitat rapidly, and that's
absolutely, man.
And that's something that's spooking me a lot. And I'm really concerned about what's going on with habitat loss out there, because I travel a lot, and it won't even be like I'll be there next year. Like if I was in Georgia. Yeah. And I came back the next month, and the area I was fly fishing, the whole 500 acres behind it is gone now. It's going to be a new plant by my house, where I had literally the piece of property where I had my cougar sighting when I was 14 years old. A life-changing encounter with a cougar. I don't know if I'd be sitting here talking about wildlife professionally if I had not had that sighting. It just... Wow. It did something to me, man. I was like, all the stuff I'd seen on TV and read in books was right in front of me at 10 yards, you know, and 1,800 acres of it were mowed down and they're making a new refinery right by my house. It's every single bit of it is gone. And so, you know, it's always a great time when you can use something like a white panther or a mountain lion or whatever to talk about that habitat conservation.
Well, to shoot a flare up in the air. You know, and that's just it. Like, these things are beyond the point of red flag. It is like time to be shooting flares in the air about conservation of wildlife, conservation of wild lands here in America. Because, I mean, once again, the idea that the white panther has been talked about and is now proven is pretty incredible. And once again, there are reports of, you know, black panthers, all kinds of things. And it wouldn't be beyond the realm of reason that a jaguar from Mexico, because really that's all a black panther is, folks, just so you know. The rings on a panther are from the melanistic. Same thing as me. Like, I'm technically a human panther with all of my freckles. That's just my melanin in my skin. Well, if I hypermelanized, all those freckles would grow together. Same thing with a black.
That's a great way to explain that, Chris. I think people can get that. And like, so if you see a black cat in the zoo or maybe on a television show, it's either a black leopard or a black jaguar. And jaguars are what are native to the United States. And there have actually been standard colored jaguars proven multiple times in New Mexico and Arizona. I was there in the Chihuahua National Monument, which is an incredible place in a remote southwestern Arizona. And I was there 2 weeks after a jaguar was captured on the game camera. Wow. So right there. So they are proven. We hadn't seen black ones there, but the jaguar is native. As a matter of fact, Sam Houston, if you're a Texan, you should know who that is. I don't know if they teach history anymore, but Sam Houston, when John James Audubon and Richard Bachman were going around doing their quadrupeds of North America research, they interviewed Sam Houston, and he said, quote, there are many jaguars east of the San Jacinto. San Jacinto is at Houston. You cross the San Jacinto going into Houston from East Texas. So I'm east of the San Jacinto. And there was I believe it was 1902, there was a jaguar killed and brought to the Jasper County Courthouse.
No.
So there is a history of this stuff here, and we just got to kind of, so that's what I'm doing on my YouTube. It's Chester Moore, wildlife journalist and investigator YouTube. And beginning January 1st, I'm doing an 8-part series on the Black Panther phenomenon.
Hell yes.
And I'm doing every aspect that you've never heard of even is going to be on there. I'm pretty dang excited about that, Chris.
I am excited for you, dude, because this kind of stuff is huge to get out there. Like, and it's interesting that a big cat sighting when you were young was something that stuck with you and brought you to this, man. Like one of the reasons I am so into cryptozoology. I was telling you this before we started recording. I hope my cousin Ricky is tuned in and my brother Randy are tuned in, because we're about to get into it, guys. I'm here to tell you, you can still call me crazy all you want. I saw a mountain lion in western Louisiana.
They're there.
Over in the bayous. We were out at the Kinder camp with the Kushada and up around the campfire, and I saw this thing walk down the dirt road and off into the woods.
Yep.
And saw tracks the next day.
Wow.
But they told me, you're just drunk and high as usual, Chris. Which may have been the case, but I know what I saw and I know what was there the next day. And yes, as a matter of fact, there are sightings of that. And that is what sent me down the path of the jaguarundi.
Yeah.
And specifically the small North American jaguar that is native to Texas and northern Mexico.
It's incredible, man. And you mentioned the jaguarundi, and what sent me down that path were two things. Don Zeidel, who was the editor-in-chief of Texas Fish Game before me, who's passed away now, asked me if I ever considered jaguarundi as a potential Black Panther candidate one time, just in a conversation. I said, I've looked at those things before, and I know people would say that. Well, about a year later, I saw one. I used to photograph one at the Texas Zoo in Victoria when I would go there.
Oh, wow.
And they used to have one. It's gone now. And on Pleasure Island in Jefferson County, Texas, in around 2002, I believe, I saw a jaguarundi cross the road in broad daylight in front of me. And I didn't say Black Panther. I didn't say feral house cat. I went, oh, my. I said, oh, my, I'm looking at a jaguarundi. And I slammed on the brakes. And I wrote a story that was at the Anomalist. Patrick Wahey, it's at the Anomalist. It may still be there at anomalist.com. It's called RUS Black Panthers Jaguarundis. And there was a Texas Parks and Wildlife biologist at the time who was their endangered species specialist, believe it or not, at the time. And he worked in a management area literally 5 miles from where I was at. And he said, oh, yeah, he on record, he said there are jaguarundis here. We used to call them the little gray cats. And I saw, and the reason I didn't say Black Panther or something is because I knew what a jaguarundi was.
Yeah.
However, if someone sees this cat at a distance and it's dark gray to black looking in the evening or morning, they're probably going to say it's a Black Panther. Most people don't know what a jaguarundi is. Now, they're not supposed to be here. The range of the jaguarundi is supposed to go into like the lower Rio Grande Valley of Texas, and there hasn't been a confirmed sighting in years. But there were so many jaguarundi reports in Brazoria County by Galveston. I think it was in 1968. Texas Parks and Wildlife did a survey there searching for them because
the report. Same thing in Houston.
Yeah.
Same thing along Buffalo Bayou in Houston.
Very controversial. The state will say we don't have them. The feds will say we don't have them, but they are absolutely, I don't think they're common.
No.
But I think there are pockets where there are a few of these unusual cats around. My good friend Jim Broadus operates Bear Creek Feline Center in Panama City, Florida, and he has maybe the only captive population of jaguarundis outside of AZA zoos. And he opens his door and let one come in the room while I was there, and from the outside enclosure, and pretty intense little guys. And but they are really cool animals. They're fascinating. And they're probably I believe they're definitely part of the Black Panther phenomenon, because it's not one answer. There's a lot of things people are seeing out there. And we go back to habitat issues. The ocelot was very common at one point in South Texas. The jaguarundi was.
Same thing with the ringtail.
Yeah, and ringtails now are pretty much up in the hill country, Yeah. And but the conversion to agriculture down there and a lot of that stuff and population growth killed off a lot of that habitat. Now I'm glad there's I'm not going to say thriving, but a producing ocelot population at Laguna Atascosa Wildlife Refuge near South Padre. And there's actually a program where they're going to consider bringing in ocelot from Mexico to replenish that area with ocelots. So there's some great things being done for conservation too. But if you look at the habitat side of stuff, man, we got to get something going, because we're losing it at an unbelievable pace. I mean, if you just look at the Texas water plant alone, water will become, at some point, the new gold. And with growing populations in Texas, and there are like maybe 10 reservoirs on tap that have had various, levels of, funding and different things like that. And when that happens, if all 10 of those went, we're looking at maybe 750,000 acres gone of river bottoms. I was on Toledo Bend fishing, and I love fishing Toledo Bend, but I hate that 165,000 acres of river bottoms are bye-bye forever. So, people don't look at that side of it. They look more at like there's a parking lot, but there's also the side of like reservoir construction and things like that. And
most people do not realize in the state of Texas that there's only one natural lake.
Caddo.
Every other lake is made by damming of rivers and streams. Every other lake. And even that right now is under huge duress. I mean, right now, Canyon Lake right here just outside of Austin and San Antonio is down so far that the cave system inside of Canyon Lake is exposed, as well as the former town that was when they built the lake and dammed the river, that flooded the old town. Like the old town is visible from the top of the water. That's how low the water level is.
Well, what's happening is they're going to go to my part of the world, East Texas. And that's where we have the water. So this goes back a long, long way. And there was I'm trying to think how to word this. I guess it is the politicking to get inter-basin water transfer to where they take water from the Sabine River and they transfer it to Central Texas, North Texas, and through a large pipeline system. And I remember a man who is now passed away, a really nice guy, but he worked for a river authority here. And he brought me and these fishing guides in on a meeting probably 18 years ago to talk about interbasin water transfer. And he said, Chester, you'll like this because we're going to make money from this and we can start conservation projects. And I'm like, okay. I said, give me the idea of the conservation projects. He said, well, we're losing north of Interstate 10, which is where the saltwater line ends in Orange County at I-10. We're losing a lot of cypress because we have so much saltwater intrusion. So we're losing a lot of cypress. And the river system replenishes like 40 times a year, and we don't need all that fresh water. We're losing that, so we can pay for water barriers and stuff. Okay, so I filed that little thought in my brain. And they brought me and these guys before the board for a meeting like a month later. And they asked if we had questions. The other two guys were kind of like clueless. They just were there. They wanted good, healthy marshes, but they didn't really, And I go, I have a question. You said if you do this, it will generate income, and a portion of this will go to conservation. Yeah, we're proud of this, blah, blah, blah. And the first thing you would do was make saltwater barrier north of I-10 because of saltwater intrusion. I said, yes. And you're saying that the system replenishes itself 41 times. So there's too much fresh water. Yes. I said, so I'm not a genius, and I'm certainly not a hydrologist. But if it's replenishing itself 41 times and salt water is still intruding north of I-10, what would happen if we reduced that to 20 times? I said, you're proving the point that we don't need water transfer, you know? And so those are the kind of issues that come out of this. It's real contentious stuff. And so the drought, we're having drought too. We're in drought. Toledo Bend's like 7 feet low.
Absolutely.
Like that. But, you know, those areas don't get water. So these are all important things. So I'm hoping the people that are into wildlife, into cryptozoology, can just look and see it. Maybe you can get involved in something like the Nature Conservancy. All they do is land conservancy. That's it.
Yeah.
They're not political, just land. Or if you're a waterfowl or waterfowl hunter, you like wetlands, Ducks Unlimited, a lot of great organizations to be part of, because we're losing habitat, and just there's going to be a point where we don't have a place for a white panther to roam anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Precisely. Yeah. And at the same token, we're getting to a point, and the other article that I have up is from Texas Parks and Wildlife about the black bears right now. Like,
man,
people in walking trails in San Antonio have been warned. Be careful, because whereas these animals used to range further and further out, that area is now being developed, and they're coming in where there's trash and easy food to be found.
Well, the bear thing is like, it's a challenging problem, but it's on a good side of things because bear numbers are increasing.
It's fantastic.
But the urbanization of bear is the wrong animal to be around urbanization, because they'll just straight up come eat out of your garbage can, like you said.
You think a coyote's a problem?
Yeah, and a bear's 1,000 times stronger. They're definitely potentially more dangerous. Yeah. And so you have this rise of the black bear. You can read a bunch of blogs I've written on the black bear thing at highercalling.net, by the way. And you're right, coexisting with black bears in Texas. I'm glad Parks and Wildlife's on this, because they're coming back. They're coming back in the hill country. They're coming back in the Trans-Pecos and in East Texas. And there was recently a bear sighting, I believe, in Orange County where I live. And the guy got a photo. He couldn't see the head. This guy lives in the swamp. He sees feral hogs every week. And the picture he got, it's either a bear or it's one of these really uber fat hogs. You can't see the head, but I looked at it, and you can go down, and it's definitely a bear in my opinion that he saw. I didn't post a picture because this guy got so much heat for it, but I just addressed the issue, you know? And here's the thing about this. People will laugh. There's no bears. Well, Louisiana's opening their first ever black bear season in 50 years because there's so many black bears in the southern half of the state now. Yeah. And it showed a map of them going, guess where? Westward to us. I am the first location you're going to come across in Orange, Texas over here. Yeah. So it's all a thing driving this. And so we're having wildlife comebacks. We're losing habitat at the same time. And then we got all this wildlife conflict because people don't know what to do. And what happens is there's somebody, you know, they're walking Fifi the poodle. You know, the lady has little Fifi, and Fifi's got a lot more bark than brain. It's about this big, and they're walking in the park, and they see a bear. And the lady's like, oh, look, cute, a black bear. And the dog's going, bah, 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 bah. Well, the bear doesn't really care about hurting the lady at this point.
No, it's just seeing a snack on a leash.
But it hates the bear, the dog, because dogs are a natural threat. Yeah. It attacks the bear. The lady doesn't have enough sense to let the dog go, and because you can't do much about it. And you have this conflict. The same thing's happening in Colorado right now with moose, and in Maine with moose. Yeah. Where it's not even predators, it's ungulates. And look, I would probably rather contend with a mad black bear than a mad moose.
Hey, I worked on a golf course when I lived in Maine.
Oh, buddy, I bet you had some encounters.
And specifically, you know, like you're typically there an hour before the golfers. So like, I'd be out on the golf course before sunrise sometimes. Yeah. And yes, I was out in the snack shack one day. I mean, snack shack, like this thing is like 8 by 8 inside, you know? I've been in fishing cabins bigger than that. Yeah. And I'm sitting there just reading a book, waiting for tea times to start, and all of a sudden I hear like this, what the hell? And I look next to me, and this cow has her head in the window of the snack shack, just looking around.
That's
about
cool,
6-7 inches
scary.
Away from my head.
Yeah.
and about 10 feet away from her is a calf. Just walking
Dude,
around.
that's the problem.
And I froze.
Yeah, buddy.
I was like, you eat whatever snacks you want. Like, you want a hot dog, you feel free to take it.
There you go. Take it, mama.
I'm just sitting here, and it eventually just, her calf wandered off, and she turned around and wandered off. But it was like, had I moved, that little 8x8 shack would have been destroyed.
No doubt about it.
It would have been leveled, man.
That's
and
power
you
right
see them
there.
on the road. You see them in a zoo. They're beautiful. They're majestic animals. But I roll about 6'4". I'm a big human being, man, and that thing had height on me.
Yeah, man, they're the real deal. I don't live in moose country, and but we went to Colorado for the first time 5 years ago, and my wife Lisa fell in love with moose, and I did too, but she really fell in love with them. So we've been researching moose a lot and stuff. And she's actually trying to figure out. She has a kind of a conservation angle on moose she's wanting to work on, but this human conflict, I mean, even like elk, I have photos of an elk in Estes Park, a big bull attacking a Suburban. I mean, just thrashing it. And there's like idiot walkers like 10 yards away from me. Oh, look, it's an elk. Ha, 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 honey. It's the peak of the rut, dude. And so it's that education part of it. And people have to be educated about that because, look, I'm a hunter. I support legal, ethical, science-based hunting. I like eating. Right. I like wildlife. Eating wildlife is good. It's good and healthy for you, better than this processed crap that we all eat too much of, including me.
Well,
but if you don't like that and you don't want the bear showing up in your neighborhood killed, don't freaking feed it because it will end up having to be killed because the bear will hurt someone or get in a whatever. So people need to know, don't feed the wildlife. If you do, it conditions them to be around people. And eventually, a person's going to get hurt, and the animal is going to have to be killed. It's always amazing. Like I've taken risk with wildlife and photography and stuff like that, but I actually know what my risk is at least. And I was in Yellowstone, and I think there's a whole blog, something called "The Idiots of Yellowstone" or something. And
I wouldn't doubt it.
I was there.
You got more proofs of Darwinian theory.
There's this lady in Yellowstone, and most of these people end up being from the Midwest. And the reason is all they have up there is like deer and turkey. There's nothing else. So you go to like Yellowstone, you don't know about buffalo, and they don't have buffalo in the Midwest. You don't know about grizzlies, and so they're all. This lady from Ohio, it was Ohio, pulls up, and she's in a car, and she goes, "I'm gonna go get a selfie with the bison." I said, "Ma'am, have you read one single sign that's been here? They kill more people than anything in Yellowstone. And in the Lamar Valley of Yellowstone, you have these it's 26 miles and there's one ranger cabin facility and there's nothing else except little pullover spots. You can pull your car on gravel and there's like a little barricade. There's bisons walking by the barricade. This woman is leaning over the barricade with her phone toward about a 1,800-pound bull bison. And I said, "Ma'am, I'm going to photograph your demise if that's okay." So I got a picture.
Wow.
She didn't get hit, thank God.
Wow.
But I did pray for her. But I got a picture of her leaning over the post, and I'm like, look, there's never a good turnout for that. It's like, and feral hogs I did one of my favorite episodes of my Dark Outdoors podcast with Dr. Jack Mayer about the danger of feral hogs. And one of the things is, it's the cuteness of the babies. The babies are usually born with stripes. They're beautiful. They're really cute. And someone who doesn't know is at a park in Austin or Houston or Beaumont, walking around, this cute little piglet comes up to them. Well, guess what happens? Mama Sow will eat your soul. And what the big growing conflict is, Chris, and I'm going to write a really in-depth piece on this. I'm waiting for some of the experts to sort of give me some more info for our studies that are going on. But the number one thing in wildlife conflict, the number one link is dogs.
Oh, yeah.
All these animals hate dogs. And you're putting your dog
at risk. Natural predator.
Exactly. They don't know it's a dog. They look at it as a wolf or whatever. You know what I mean?
Heck, until 100 or so few years ago, they were all wolves. till
Exactly.
like every one of them from Chihuahua on up was nothing but
Exactly.
wolf till we
They're
bred
all
it
Canis
down to
lupus
what it
at the end of the
does.
day, right?
Yeah.
And so the dog is there, and when I was in Yellowstone, when I got that award, I didn't go to Yellowstone that point. I was in Grand Teton. I went to Yellowstone the first trip to Wyoming this year. And there's a trail where there's a sign, grizzly spotted. It was like 2 days early. They had like a date and warning. And there's somebody walking a collie down there.
Yeah.
And so if you're listening, I know you love your dog. I have a bull mastiff and Adobe. I love my babies. But you don't need to be walking them where there's a big presence of feral hogs, and certainly not a big presence of bears, particularly grizzlies, or when you got a lot of cow and baby elk or moose, because you're going to get hurt, or the dog is going to get hurt at least.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to get that message across because we're such a dog-centric culture, and I love dogs. I've never had
I don't know of a picture of you without a dog almost on social media.
I have my dogs everywhere.
Almost everyone is a dog in your way while you're doing something.
Exactly. But my dogs don't go on the trail down here where the feral hogs are real thick, Yeah. And because my dogs would try to defend me and they would get killed probably. And so I just want people listening. I'm not getting on you about bringing your dogs, but if you see a lot of feral hog sign, avoid that. They'll save you and the dog problems. And when you go to Yellowstone, leave the dog at a kennel at home.
Yeah.
Don't have to bring the dog to Yellowstone or Rocky Mountain National Park. It'll make your trip more fun because when your dog's trying to chase everything anyway, but it's a safety thing. And there's a good chance that they're going to have to kill that elk mama who stomped your dog into a mud hole.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So just some comment. Thank you for having a platform where we can talk freely about this stuff.
It's hugely important, man. I was brought up hunting and fishing by a Cajun grandfather.
There you go.
Who was brought up hunting, fishing, trapping. He was a sharecropper when he was a kid. Things like that, man. And to me, I wish I could get out more and do it. But it's more the fact of without the conservation, we don't have the opportunities. People do not understand that, go out and get a fishing license. You understand that by having a fishing license, that means that there's the next crop of freshwater fish available for you. Like that's what funds the putting of freshwater fish into lakes, into streams, everything else. Is
absolutely
the purchasing of a fishing license, the purchasing of a hunting license.
It's crucial. Like I don't break the law anyway, but I have to be. There's so many laws you can break them without knowing it, right? And the wildlife guy here can't get caught without his federal duck stamp, right? Yeah. Well, I bought mine online, and they're supposed to send it to you. It never came, but I had my receipt. But my receipt had you had 30 days. And I was like day 32, and I'm like, I could probably get away because I actually bought it, but I went and bought a separate federal duck stamp that morning to make sure I didn't get in trouble because I knew that money, that was double the money I spent on helping wetlands. Yeah. And that's thing. So there was this organization that were doing some tourism stuff, and they told me they got these maps from a birding organization. God bless birding organizations. They're cute, but I like them out there. And I said, you ought to put some of the public duck hunting areas because that'll bring a lot of people into the area. And they said, well, the birders wanted us to promise that we wouldn't show the duck hunting areas. I said, you tell those birders that I said who bought that area was duck hunters. Duck hunters bought those marshes and kept them from being plowed under with the federal duck stamp. So and that's a great point in fisheries and also in wildlife. Like I work a lot with wild sheep, and there's one organization, the Wild Sheep Foundation, that pays itself annually for about 60% of North America's wild sheep conservation, one nonprofit. Yeah. And there's all these chapters and affiliates, and then you got like the National Wild Turkey Federation. Yep. And they really are habitat centric. They're a great habitat centric group. Yeah. And they do a lot of amazing habitat work. And so it's all working together. Pick one you like that supports habitat and wildlife and go for it. Yeah. And and enjoy the time out there, man. And on the cryptozoology side of stuff, man, if certain cryptids are ever proven, we're going to have a huge reason to conserve habitat.
Just proven. You just proved we just proved the white lion, like the white panther, and that's just it. Like jaguarless stuff like that, things that have been out there for years, now, and this is one of the things that I preach about regularly whenever I am talking cryptozoology and field work and things like that. Get a hold of a local conservation group, get a hold of a local university, things like that are doing wildlife work. Because your trail cam footage could be helping them in a huge way. Yeah, you never know what you're going to see. I mean, it could be like there's this work on Galveston Island with these animals that have red wolf DNA. I mean, you could have my trail cam photos from the mid 2000s were part of that original conversation with the group that were looking at it. And I've got something I'm releasing. I got an archival red wolf video. Yeah. That's from 2004 that will be released here on my YouTube channel coming up next month, I think. So you can contribute by showing what you have. I mean, it may be as something as you might get a bird photo. You may get a bear instead of a Bigfoot, especially in East Texas right now, like you're talking about, especially up around the hill country right now. And people need to know that. But they need to know that. B, especially East Texas, stuff like that. If that is becoming a new home range for bears, guaranteed you can get some conservation done for the local habitat. Exactly. So that's a great message, Chris. Game cam photos, cell cam, all that stuff contributes. So make sure and share and by the way, I am a judgment-free zone for your trail cam videos and photos. Epic. I get a lot of stuff that's like house cats and stuff. I don't beat people up, say, hey, I think that's a feral house cat. They're all over the place. Thank you for submitting the photo. So you can find me here at highcon.net, and there's a way to contact me. You can also just email me at chester@chestermore.com. And I love to see what you have. I'm working on a cat project now, but the bear stuff always, anything interesting, weird, and wildlife, I'm into it. And I love to see your stuff, and I won't beat you up about it, And by the way, you're on a cool page there. Oh, that's one of my favorite photos ever, the jaguar. Great story behind that. So that's my favorite animal in the world is a jaguar. And we have a section on our website called How to Become a Conservationist. And I have these cards I give when I meet kids that has a QR code, and it goes to this video of me in the Florida Keys, giving them ways to use their social media, artwork, photography, and writing for conservation's sake. That's right. And we've been putting that out all around America. Did a thing called the 316 Project, based on my favorite scripture, John 3:16. We gave gifts, wildlife-centric gifts to kids to inspire them to conservation in 16 states in 3 months. And that goes to there. And the reason I put that little jaguar photo is because that was one of my social posts. About 9 years ago, me and Lisa brought 2 young ladies to the Lufkin Zoo, and they had just had a jaguar baby, and they were going to put it on display for 30 minutes that day. It was like the first time they put it on display. And I went there and told them I wanted to write an article about it. And I said, can I walk past the barricade and put my camera up to the glass to get a good photo? And they said, I tell you what, why don't you wait till we're done and come back? And the vet took us behind the scenes. Cool. And he let me pet that little baby. Oh. And my dream come true, total. And I was sitting on the grass about a foot away with the wide angle lens taking that photo. Wow. That was a total dream come true for me, like to get that close to a baby jaguar. And the kid that we took, there was 2 sisters. She had her cell phone, and she got a picture of me taking the picture. And it's one of my favorite photos because here's me laying in the grass. So, look, guys, this may sound a little sappy, but look, the world's getting tougher by the day. A lot of crazy darkness out there. Yeah. But don't give up hope. I still have hope because of my faith, but don't give up hope. Good things can still happen in your life. And, live for those good moments and know that they're not impossible to happen again. Hey, I'm no one special at all, but some pretty special things get to happen to me. And just know that when you're hanging on out there and the world gets crazy, search for those things that bring you joy. And I'm telling you, good things can still happen. The world is going to hell in a handbasket. You don't have to join them. So anyway, stay inspired, and being in wild places and seeing wild things and conserving wild land is a good way to regenerate some of that hope in your life. Absolutely. And, the things that you do at Higher Calling .net, especially your youth outreach, things like that, man. That is what is supplying that light for the future. That is what is getting kids in touch with the world around them and making them learn to love and respect nature and appreciate the time that they get out in it, because not every kid gets to get out in it.
No, man, you know what? And they don't. And we're having I'm working on I'm actually narrating a Bigfoot series for a friend of mine. Awesome. It's called Wild Man of the Woods on YouTube. It's like Nat Geo level videography. My friend Paul Fazinski and Seth Guy do that.
Cool.
And Paul is a videographer, and he is completing today, actually wrapping up like a 7-minute mini doc on our last expedition to Colorado with kids. It'll be available at highercalling.net January 1. And dude, let me tell you a couple of cool stories. I have a girl named Juno. Juno, we met her in January of 2020. She had cancer. She was in Colorado. Somebody recommended her to us, and we were going to go do an expedition with her, but a little thing called COVID happened, and we couldn't travel. She couldn't travel for sure. Well, she kind of fell through the cracks because of COVID and travel, and then her mom reached out and said she was having a few problems, and we went out and did last year. We went out and gave her a sloth encounter at the Denver Aquarium.
Cool.
And it was incredible. Well, I went back this year. Juno is cancer-free. And I got to walk her out on a trail to photograph mule deer. And we went back again, and she met us in September or October. And we took her around her house at a park and taught her how to use a camera to photograph wildlife and did prairie dog photography there. But that kid is cancer-free now. That brings me hope. And we met a little boy named Alex who has more health issues than I could talk about on the program. And beautiful, awesome little guy. And the elk were in full rut. And on the video, you'll see him out there bugling at the elk. One of them bugled back at him. And
cool.
I got to take him to a spot where normally there's a bunch of chipmunks and ground squirrels, where they were all gone, but a few chipmunks. But Lord provided for me. A flock of Merriam's turkeys walked up to us, and he got to, sit there and look at the turkeys 5 yards away and photograph a moose with us. So it's all about trying to give hope to kids. So if you know of a child that's facing a special challenge that loves wildlife, yeah, that's right here. This is Rihanna Holloway. That's Emily Odom right there.
Go.
Yeah. So Rihanna, as the first girl you saw with the bighorn, is just graduated last weekend. After that trip, she became a Texas Tech wildlife student, graduated with a degree, and she got to go on that with us. And you'll see the girl releasing the turkey. He's done a lot of stuff with us, and we're proud to have partners like the Texas Parks and Wildlife's helped us a lot. National Wild Turkey Federation,
Beautiful.
Wild Sheep Foundation, Houston Safari Club Foundation have all helped us in various ways, and pretty excited about the work we're doing. So if you know of a kid that loves wildlife and they're having a dark time, it could be they're in foster maybe, or a critical illness, or they're dealing with depression and bullying and whatever, message me. And if you forget how to get a hold of me, get a hold of Chris. He'll reach out to me. Yep. We would love to do something special for your kids with wildlife.
Absolutely, man. And speaking of which, you are actually going to be at Falk Monster Festival coming up, and there will be a giveaway for a special kid at Falk.
Yeah, so Craig Woolheater, our mutual friend, has been so kind to support our program and his Texas Bigfoot Conference, as well as the Falk Monster Festival. We're either bringing kids in, if we can make it, to come to the event and they get Bigfoot-centric gifts, or we're using that event to raise gifts for other kids. And matter of fact, tomorrow I'm packing up some gifts. My good friend Sean Whitley, who did the epic, I'm in it, I'm a little biased, a Southern Fried Bigfoot documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Sent me a bunch of Bigfoot gifts we're going to send kids out. And Falk Monster Festival, we're probably going to be bringing some kids to that one.
Cool.
And I'm going to be speaking there. And got a cool announcement. I wrote a book called Bigfoot South 20 years ago, next year. And Bigfoot South is going to be re-released for the very first time with about 50% more pages, information, photos. Special edition is going to be available at the Falk Monster Festival. And I'm going to be talking about something unique there. I'm going to be talking about feral apes and feral monkeys in the American South and how it ties into this phenomenon. And I'm neck deep in research on that, and I've got some crazy stuff to share. So that's just a little teaser. You want to come out to the Falcon Monster Festival. First off, it's in Falk, and people will be probably Lyle or someone will be there as well, talking about the Falcon Monster and his masterful books he did on that. And different people will come to this event, and it's a special place. You can go to the Monster Mart and check out the little mini museum. But I'll be there. We'll be having probably some kids there with us, and we'll have – and you can go, by the way, you're the first person to get this scoop. I've sent a few friends links. Ooh. Nobody publicly has this yet. Go to BigfootSouth.com. And BigfootSouth.com has a few blogs up already, but this will be the presence of the new book and anything
awesome
primate cryptozoologist type stuff that'll end up there. So that's the original artwork that Randy King did for my book 20 years ago. And I didn't have, so I actually was able to scan that, and that's the original artwork. And so a lot of cool stuff going on. And there's actually a Sasquatch Sanctuary magazine that will come with this that we're going to do 3 times a year. Cool. A lot of stuff going on, man. I'm excited about 2024.
Heck yeah, man. Well, congratulations on all of that as always, my friend. I mean,
appreciate it, buddy.
You are out there. You are doing things like crazy all the time. It's great to see you moving and shaking. I'm glad to see you rebooting the YouTube channel and using that for the powers of good.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. You know, it's going to be great to actually be able to hopefully derive some income and get streams enough to help the family, because it's tough to make a living doing this. But it is. We're going to have a whole separate playlist just on the work we do with kids. Love it. And the entire goal of that playlist is to find more kids, because someone will watch that stuff. Yeah. And we haven't put that one up yet. That goes with the documentary coming up. And we're going to say, hey, you got a kid that's dealing with this kind of stuff, we can help. And then if you like cryptozoology, you're going to love this channel. If you like just wildlife and fishing, basically I even have my old band stuff on there, like Epic. My band Freak 13, and I've got my band Draken stuff on there. So it's basically everything Chester is interested in is on that particular channel. So you never know. There may be a scathing review of Disney Star Wars on there at some point. I don't know.
Well, hold the line real quick while we close things out, man. It is always great to talk with you. I love our conversations on and off air. And
I treasure them, buddy.
I am just a huge fan of all your work. So
thank you, buddy. I love what you do, and thank you for always stirring up interesting conversations with everyone.
That's what it's all about, man. Hold the line real quick while we close things out. While you are online checking out the YouTube channel of Chester Moore, as well as chestermoore.com and highercallingwildlife.net or highercalling.net for Higher Calling Wildlife. Make sure to stop on by Curious Realm. CuriousRealm.com is where you can like, follow, subscribe. Chester, make sure to share things to the Curious Realm group. My group is yours. Stop on by and join the Curious Realm group on Facebook, everybody. It is an open group. We have great conversations there about things that are moving humanity. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in, everybody. The conversation is what moves humanity, and open hearts, open minds are how we have the conversation. Your open hearts, open minds are what matter out there, everybody. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and remember, stay curious. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning into this episode of The Curious Realm. Stay tuned for more guests, forbidden topics, and hidden truths. Download the official Curious Realm app and view the Knowledge Vault on our website, CuriousRealm.com. Follow us on social media by searching Curious Realm. Curious Realm is available on your favorite podcast services, as well as YouTube, Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV through the APR TV app, available on all app markets. Curious Realm is a proud member of the HC Universal Network family of podcasts. For more great content, or to become a sponsor of Curious Realm or other podcasts, visit hcuniversalnetwork.com today. Thanks for listening. Stay curious, and remember, the other side is always watching.